Hey guys, so last time we talked about fan fiction. If you haven't seen that, check my channel out, you'll see that video. And a couple of people messaged me asking whether I'd spent any time watching fan-made films. So apparently there are quite a few high production value fan films in the Harry Potter universe online, and I've not actually seen any of them. The one I'm going to watch today, Origins of the Heir, I remember seeing the trailer a couple of years ago before the full-length film was out, and I remember thinking, when that comes out, I'm definitely going to watch it, and then for whatever reason I just didn't. And that's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to watch Origins of the Heir and sort of watch it live with you guys and just cut through to my reaction to different things, what they've done well, what they've not done well, where I think they've lifted great things from the books, where I think they've taken maybe too many creative liberties. And for context, I think I'm quite well placed for this because big Harry Potter fan, I've read it and watched the films time and time again over the last like 10 years. But I'm also, I went to school for film for 3 years in London, and for a job, I make online content, I produce online content, oversee creative teams, put things like this together. So I'm excited to see what this film is about. Let's jump in. Okay, having watched the opening sequence, this is clearly more than just a fan or two with a camera. There's like a whole production team behind this, and it's really good. Like the score, the lighting, the whole like blocking of each scene is great. They've clearly paid attention to the source material. I mean, there's been no dialogue yet, so it's not that in depth, but even just the props, these guys did their research. The only thing slightly letting it down, I think, is maybe the VFX. I mean, they've clearly put it together in a way where they're not copying the feature films, the Harry Potter films. They've not tried to make it seem like it's been lifted from one of the movies. They've definitely done their own style. There was like a POV shot from the perspective of the person shooting their wand. The effects are just, they're very big, and I feel like in Harry Potter they were very understated. They never really, like, if somebody was casting a spell, it was the scene with a spell and like the rays from the wand in the scene. Whereas in this, there's bright lights and flashes and sparks everywhere, and it overwhelms shots a little bit when they cast spells, but definitely doesn't detract from what's going on otherwise. So far it looks really cool. I'm excited for the rest of it.
I hardly know anything about myself, but there is one thing I do know. You're exceptional. I have no doubt. You will surely become the greatest wizard ever.
I can see why there was no talking in the opening scene now. The first bit at Hogwarts where they start having a conversation, this girl and presumably Tom Riddle, the audio dub is bad. Like, it's out of sync. The tone of what they're saying doesn't really match the deliverance from the actors, and I don't know why they've dubbed it. I'm wondering whether, because the actors are clearly talking English, it's just not quite synced up, it doesn't quite match, and I'm wondering whether the actors had accents and they've tried putting a British accent dub over the top to make it more authentic. And if that is the case, I feel like it would have been more powerful if they just kept the accents of the original actors, because I don't think the British accent would make or break this, but I think being distracted by bad dubbing would distract from what's actually going on. I mean, there was the shot Hogwarts and there were all the students in the corridors and it looked really authentic, and then they started talking and it was out of sync, and it sort of ruined it a little bit for me, but we'll keep going.
I imagine you've already heard of the 4 founders of Hogwarts. What many people don't know is they have descendants.
So we're about a quarter of the way through so far, and it's really good, really well done, and I'm realising I love every single part except when people are talking. I can't get past the dialogue in this. It's badly dubbed and over-delivered when they talk. Even with passing comments, they talk like this. And when you match that delivery with a close-up of an eye, but all they're saying is, Hogwarts had founders, it feels off-tone a little bit, almost. I can't get past it, it's really irritating me. Everything else is great. The little shots, the flashbacks, when they had the Soviet people in the snow and they uncovered that chest and the way that's done, when they go through all the newspapers. The attention to detail in this is fantastic. It's just the talking, and it's frustrating because I wish they'd just had a boom mic and had the actual actors who are clearly speaking English just deliver their lines and not have to dub it. And obviously I wasn't there on the shoot. They could have been shooting in the public where there were too many background noises to be able to do that. But for clearly the production value, the amount of money that went into this, the amount of people that worked on it, I just feel like they could have had better audio. But we'll keep going, we'll see.
Do you remember why we're here? Do you remember who we are? Why, regardless of the different houses the Sorting Hat sorted us in, we are bounded forever by a destiny we cannot change.
We are the heirs.
Exactly.
Maybe they're not speaking English. Maybe it's dubbed because it's in a different language. I'm sure earlier when Tom was talking to the second-year girl, who I now think is the lady who broke into the Aura's office, I think that's her from in a flashback, I'm sure they were talking English and it was just badly dubbed. But now we've just watched the dueling between Gryffindor, Ravenclaw and Hufflepuff, and I don't think they were speaking English. I think that's been dubbed entirely. And maybe that's why the whole thing is badly dubbed, because some is in English and some isn't, and so they've just tried to give it some consistency. I don't know. I think I just need to move past this, don't I? The set design is fantastic. I fully believed they were dueling in a classroom at Hogwarts then. It's really well done, everything else. I just need to get past the whole audio dialogue thing. So the characterization of Tom Riddle as a kid is great. He really, he has the same vibe as the kids from the actual film, right? He seems handsome and charming, but the way he contorts his face when he starts to become unsettled and become a bit almost snake-like, the way he looks with his eyes. There's one particular scene where he looks at Lazarus, who said he's going to fight him, and he genuinely looks a bit like a monster. So they've cast that really well, and that's really well acted, and I'm over the audio thing now, so I can focus on other bits. And actually that dueling scene, what I said before about the spells being a little overwhelming in scenes where they duel and stuff, when they had the camera tie in on an actor whose wand is just pointing out like camera left, and they just have activity here, that's really subtle and doesn't detract from the facial expressions and the things the characters are doing whilst the battle's going on. And obviously you've got the gusts of winds ruffling like banners and stuff behind them. Actually, it's done really well there. I take back what I said before. Really happy with how this is progressing.
Ragged-looking woman who seemed to have stolen it, but had no idea of its true value. Ragged-looking woman who seemed to have stolen it.
Hepzibah didn't have any clue what a heavy impact those words would have had on her fate.
Oh my god, right. I have said for years my favourite parts of the books were in the Half-Blood Prince with Voldemort's flashbacks to finding out about the Gaunts and his mother and the Hepzibah Smith stuff and how he went and made all the Horcruxes, right? I find that really interesting, and it's this deep dive into him as a character that we otherwise didn't get, and I was gutted that they didn't put it in the films. And this fan film is doing them brilliantly. Like the Hepzibah Smith scene, the flashback when he sees the locket, and even the way they shoot it is like the sound editing of the ticking that gets fainter, or it starts faint and then it gets louder as she's pulling the locket out, and then when it's swinging in the foreground, it's so powerful, and it really does it justice, the source material. It really, really does. They've done it so well. I'm a big fan of this so far.
Farewell, Grisha.
So the scene in the waterfall where they're saying goodbye could have been lifted straight out of one of the movies, to be honest. It's a really great dive into these characters, which we've spent the last 45 minutes getting to know. The change of pace from him killing Hepzibah, the feel of the interrogation, and then that, yeah, it's really well put together, this. Like, the audio is still annoying me, because it's not just like, okay, so Gryffindor there, for example, in that scene, she's hysterical in her voice, but she's not quite so hysterical in the way she acts. Like when she's saying, "Oh, what will you do?" is how her voice sounds, but she's delivering it like, "What will you do?"
What answer do you have for me? What about that diary, then? You will run away, won't you?
And it doesn't match up for me, and it's the only real issue I have, and the rest of it is held to such a high standard.
Just a simple potion, General. You violated my soul's tomb. The tomb where my past lies.
Grab him!
Enemies of the Heir, beware.
Alright, wow, I mean, it's finished, and I have seen a few, like, fan films of things before, mainly for, like, fan trailers and little edits and stuff, never anything of that quality. It was really great. I obviously had one sticking point being the audio, but, you know, I could move past that quite comfortably because of how well everything else was put together. The end, the twist as well, I knew there was a twist coming, but when the general takes his hat off, I thought it was going to be him. But yeah, well written, great justice to the source material, very well put together. Like, I'm presuming this is a proper, like, film production company, and their budget must have been pretty good too. Sound editing was fantastic, the props, the set design, the costumes, all of it except the dubbing were great. You know what, even if they weren't speaking English, I would have gladly watched this with subtitles, just so that was gone, because I suppose my first issue is that the delivery of the words from the actors and actresses didn't match the delivery of the dubbed words. So, like I said before, the energy of the actor might be a bit understated and the energy of the voice is suddenly really over the top, and it just doesn't sync up, and I find it very distracting. The other thing is, given the detail of every other aspect, including, I think, the sound editing, there's like the sounds of the spells and the waterfall and the sort of ambient background noise, and it feels like that's all mixed brilliantly, and then the dubbed sounds are just plonked on top instead of mixed in. It just takes away from an otherwise very immersive experience and fan film, but doesn't ruin it. It distracts, but it doesn't ruin it, I suppose. It doesn't make me enjoy it that much less, to the point where I would stop watching it or turn it off or not recommend it or whatever. Given it focuses on some of my favourite parts of the books, the bits that I were most upset they left out of the films, like Voldemort's backstory and the Horcruxes and that side of things, I was really thrilled with this. I think it's really, really great. If you haven't seen it, I find it weird that you've watched a reaction video first, but go and watch it. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. I'd really appreciate it. When I was searching for this, I saw there were a bunch of other fan films, which I'd really like to do reactions to in this style. So if you did like it, let me know. Leave me a comment below as well if you've seen this Origins of the Heir film. Let me know what you thought. Any other recommendations for like fan films and stuff, leave them in the comments. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram, links in the description. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.